2, 3, what is it? 5 above, so B should be 5 below. If I connect them, it looks like this triangle was flipped over the line of reflection. So all I do is count 3 above, 3 below. C is 7 above, so C prime is 7 below. B was 5 above, so B prime is 5 below. So if I look at A prime's point is 2, -3. B prime is at 7, -5, and C prime's new point is 4, -7. So you could just physically count them, which is the easiest way. There is a rule that you could use, but you're probably not going to remember it, but I'll show it to you anyways. If your coordinate point was XY, the rule for reflecting over the X-axis is literally keeping X the same and making Y negative. So if your original coordinate point was 2, 3, notice my 2 is still the same. 3 is just now negative. It was 7, 5. 7 stays exactly the same. 5 is just now negative. So you could use these rules to also help you, but you're probably not going to remember it. So just count because that's the easy way. Okay. We're going to do the same thing over the y-axis now. So take a second. On the second one, we're going to plot the original points. And our line of reflection is now going to be the y-axis instead. Oh, like you need the original points or like the new points. There you go. I'll leave this up here for a second. So go to the one next to it. Start by plotting your original points. And make sure you're labeling them A, B, and C. And I don't know if I already told you this, but if you think we're going really slow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's because this is super important for your EOC. So if you learn anything from this entire year, the most important thing is literally this unit. Yes. It's like half of your midterm, like quite literally. There's like it's just on reflections, rotations, translations. But the catch is once we learn them all, then we're going to start combining them. So you're going to have to reflect it and then translate it, or you'll have to translate it, then reflect it, or you'll have to, you know what I mean? But on your EOC, same thing. It's a very big part of your EOC. So I'm trying to go slow with it because we need to make sure if you learn anything from this year, it should be this unit. Okay. So your original triangle ABC for the second one should look like this. My line of reflection is now not going side to side. It's going to be the y-axis. So the y-axis is the vertical one. So I'm going to take the highlighter and I want you to shade or color that y-axis. Think about it as if I am folding this piece of paper on that y-axis, so like hot dog style, and I need to figure out stamp. Think about it as a stamp. It's over here. So now it's going to end up over here because the line of reflection is down the middle. Okay, so we're going to use the same method. Yeah, the middle, side to side. So think about this one. Last time we counted above and then we went below. Now the triangle is on the right. So we're going to use the same method, but now we're going to count to the left. So for A, if you look, A from my line of reflection is 2 to the right. So A prime is now just going to be 2 to the left. So I'm still using that counting method. 1, 2. I'm going to go 1, 2, the opposite direction. Same thing with C. I'm going to count the distance. So from the line of reflection, I went 1, 2, 3, 4 to get to C. So now I'm, instead of going to the right to get to C prime, I'm going to go 4 to the left. Yep, so you're basically going the same length the opposite way. So B, I had to go to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now I'm going to the left 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this is B prime. So it's a little Akko Taco, but if you were to fold your paper and it was a stamp, that's where it would end up on the other side. So you could use the counting method, or once again, this one has its own rule as well. You could follow. It's not the same rule. XY actually changes from negative X to to Y. Y stays the same because it's reflecting over the Y axis. X is what's changing. So A prime, if I use the rule, X is becoming negative, Y is staying the same. So this time it would be -2, 3. And if I check to see if that's the same location, yes. So I went to the left 2 and I went up 3.
But on the other problem, we get actually like the statement on that. Now, it's
Yes. Like the second one was negative, now it's the first one that's negative. Is that what you're talking about?
like, right?
No,
I'm talking about.
like to plot the point.
Works.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so this is like different from the last thing that we did. So B, it was 7, 5. So now my rule is I'm making X negative. So B prime is now -7. Y stays exactly the same. C prime is -4, 7. And you could also just look at your graph to make sure that that matches. So I went over -4, I went up 7 to get to C, I went over -7, I went up 5 to get to B, went over -2, went up 3 to get to A prime. So we're gonna skip the middle two for, does anyone remember doing this in middle school? Okay, so we got a couple people. The middle two are the harder ones. So we're gonna skip the middle two for now. We're gonna do the bottom two because the bottom two are just like the top two, but instead of an x-axis and a y-axis, it's a straight line. But it's somewhere specific on the graph. The middle two are a little different. So let's go to the bottom. So everybody should be at the bottom left. Bottom left. Carl, make sure you, can you tell him bottom left graph? Okay. Thanks, Rob. Okay, so it says reflections without rules. This does not have a rule. You cannot use a rule. When in doubt, draw it out. Okay, so you should draw it out if you're in doubt. Okay, over the line, over a vertical line. So this is going to be some vertical line, x equals some number. They're going to give you a number. So for example, we're going to use the line x equals 2 as my line of reflection. So x equals 2 is a vertical line that goes straight up through the value x equals 2. You should have plotted these kinds of lines back in the day, but we don't even remember what we ate yesterday. You don't remember what we did in math class yesterday. You definitely don't remember what you did a year ago or 2 years ago. So we're going to go on the x-axis to 2, and I want you to put a point. This is going to be a vertical line that goes through 2. It would not make sense to make it a horizontal line because that's the x-axis, okay? So it's going to go straight through 2. It is a vertical line. This equation is x equals 2 technically because you went through the 2. Think about it as like literally cutting the 2, like going straight through the 2, the number. And now we are going to plot the original points, and then we're going to use the same method. Instead of reflecting across the y-axis, we're reflecting across this line x equals 2. There is no rule that you can use, so we're literally going to have to use the counting method. So plot your original points, -2, 3. B is at 0, 5. Huh? What about the 2? Yeah, so like 2 is right here, and then you just like go straight up, straight down. 4, 7 is C, which is going to look a little cray, but it's okay. This is a triangle. It's a very obtuse triangle, very large, very in charge. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to connect A and B, A and C, and then B and C. I know it's ugly. It's super skinny, but it is what it is. Now, this one's a little strange. It's a little weird because the line of reflection actually goes through the picture. Anytime that happens where your line goes through your picture, that means that the picture is going to end up on top of itself. Because if you think about it, if I fold my piece of paper like a hot dog, all the pieces on this side are going to end up on the other side. All the pieces on this side are going to end up on the other side. So it's literally going to fold on top of itself. So we're gonna end up with like a beautiful little butterfly in the end, okay? Because it's literally gonna fold. So we're gonna use the same counting method. If I look at A first, from the line of reflection, how many to the left did A have to go? 4. So now I'm gonna go 4 to the right. A prime ends up at 6, 3, right? Yeah. I forgot to put an A prime. We're going to do the same thing for B. From the line of reflection, how much did I have to go to the left to get to B? 2. So now I'm going to go to the right 2. So B prime ends up at 4, 5. The last one is C. C was 2 to the right. So now I'm going to go 2 to the left. And then it's a little ugly because it folds on top of each other, but we're going to connect it a little. Yeah, it's like extra ugly. It's like a beautiful little butterfly is flying away. It's a beautiful little butterfly. You said that you said.
Wouldn't be before it's big line type.
Oh my God, that's terrible. You just called her a caterpillar. Okay. Because if I folded my paper right there, this side would end up on this side would end up on this side. So now we're gonna do the same thing, but instead of a vertical line, x equals 2, we're gonna do y equals a number, which is a horizontal line. This is very easy. It's just a little time consuming and we're going kind of slow. Okay, so next one says over a horizontal line, y equals a number, meaning what, the quarter points? I'll zoom out so you can see it. So over a horizontal line, y equals a number, meaning any number, doesn't matter. An example of it is going to be y equals -3. So this time it's a horizontal line. To draw my line of reflection, I want you to go, because it says y, I'm literally going on the y-axis to -3. I'll start with a point, y, -3. And people get confused. This is where they get confused. They're like, is it vertical? Is it horizontal? I don't understand. Okay. If you put it literally on top of the y-axis, that would not make any sense because then it would just say reflect over the y-axis. So we have to cut through this -3. It is a horizontal line going through the -3. We're going to start by plotting the original points. And then I want you to take a second and try to figure out where your new points are going to be based on the counting method. Yes. Yeah, -3. 3 down from the origin. From 0 to 0. So use your counting method, try to figure out where B is going to fall, where's C going to fall, where's A going to fall. So instead of going side to side, you're going up. You're going to go that same distance down. The only thing some people do mess up on for this is this middle line. People for some reason are like, it's the x-axis. I don't include it when I'm counting. So whenever you're counting, if I was going to like C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm counting the x-axis as a number. So this is 5 above. A lot of people just go 1, 2, jump over that, 3, 4. Okay, the x-axis counts as a space. Yes. So A prime should end up at -2, -9. B prime should end up, it was at 0, 0. Now it's at 0, -6. And C prime was at 3, 2. Now it's at 3, -8. Okay, so these 4 problems are all very similar. We just did them all together, very similar. Now we're going to change it. Realistically, these are like the old ones that you should have known. Some of you know them, some of you don't, which is fine. They're very easy. It's just counting. Now we're going to do ones that actually have a line for an equation. So thinking about old school stuff from last year, which you don't remember, the year before, because you should have done this for like 3 years at this point, hopefully. Y equals mx plus b, you should be stuck into your brain forever. Y equals mx plus b is a linear equation. B is the y-intercept, it's where you begin. M is the slope, it's how you move. So you rise and you run. Usually M is a fraction because you like rise 1 and run 4. You start at like -7 and you rise and you run and you rise and you run and you make a line. So the middle two are like that. They will never include numbers for geometry. So you will never have a M, you will never have a B. So you don't actually have to worry about rising and running a specific number. But we do need to graph the most basic line, which is over the line y equals x. Ooh. So y equals x technically is in y equals mx plus b format, but there is no b and there is no m. Technically there's an m, it's just not written. So if there's no b, where do you begin on the y-axis if it doesn't have a y-intercept? What's a number that represents nothing? 0. So we don't have a y-intercept. We don't have a b. So we're going to start at 0, 0. Because 0 is a number 2. It has feelings as well. My slope, there's nothing there. Usually it's like 1/2 or 2/3. There is no slope, but there's actually a slope. It's just not written. So if there's just an x, what number is technically in front of x? 1. So my slope, I'm starting at 0, 0. I'm going to rise 1 and I'm going to run 1. And I'm gonna rise 1 and I'm gonna run 1. And I'm gonna continue rising and running until I get to the end of the picture. So from 0, 0, I rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1, continue my life, rise and run my life away forever and ever. You should basically end up in that top corner piece. A positive slope is going to go from corner to corner, diagonal across your graph. So starting at 0, it goes across to this corner. If you continued in the opposite direction, going down 1 and back 1, down 1, back 1, down 1, blah, 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 you would end up at this corner. So we're going to connect all of these points with a straight line with the highlighter, because my line of reflection is actually going straight across my graph, diagonal. It has a positive slope. It's going up from left to right. This graph is increasing because it has a positive slope. So now instead of it being super easy and counting, this is the 2 that you will actually have to remember the rules for, but they're very easy to remember. So let's plot the original points and then we'll talk about the rules, because now we can't count because it's a diagonal. And so it's like going across squares. So we'll plot our original points. So A is at -2, +3. B is at -7, +5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. B is at -4, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is the rules. There's 2 you're going to have to remember, but they're very easy, peasy, lemon squeezy. Normally we can count the distance But now that we're going like across boxes, it's a little difficult and people mess up really easily on this. So if you look at the rule, it says XY goes from XY to YX. So all it's doing is it's flipping your original coordinate point to make a new coordinate point. Because it's a positive line, your coordinate points are just staying exactly the same, just flipping. So if A was -2, 3, A prime is literally just flipping to make 3, -2. So it's literally just flipping because it's a positive sign. And if you look at the equation, y equals x, the placement of the actual equation of the line, y is first, and then it's x is next. They're literally showing you it's just flipping. The equation is xy, yx, so it's literally flipping its place. So b, instead of -7, 5, b prime is now 5, -7. C prime is going to be 7, -4. It's literally just flipping. So take a second, plot your new points, and you'll see if you fold your paper on the diagonal, which is a little Akko Taco, it's going to end up on the bottom right of the graph. So instead of it being nicely next to it or nicely below it, it's just on the other side of that line. Think about it as if it was a vertical line, it's literally still going straight across. Now your line is just sideways, so your graph is sideways. The last problem, we're going to do the same thing, but instead of having a positive slope, y equals x is a positive line. Now the line is going to be a negative slope, so it's going to decrease from corner to corner going through 0, 0. The last problem. I know we're probably sick and tired of this. So this time it says over the line y equals -x. That means a negative slope. So I should have a line that goes down from left to right, meaning it's starting in the top left corner and it's ending in the bottom right corner. It's going through the origin. So I just put a point, point, and a point, and then I'm connecting those because it's a negative slope. So it's actually going down 1 and to the right 1, starting at 0, 0. My original point is 2, 3, 7, 5, 4, 7. And then I am reflecting across a diagonal line. The equation is obviously not the same, but if you look at the equation, it makes sense. So my equation now is negative y equals -x. So my coordinate point xy, just like last time, is flipping the places. So it's flipping the coordinate. And what it's doing is it's making it negative. It makes sense because it's a negative line. It's decreasing from left to right. So not only are we flipping our coordinate point, we are also switching the sign. So we flip and we switch. Flip the coordinate point, switch the sign. So if A was +2, +3, we're going to flip it and switch the sign. So A prime is now -3, -2. They were both positive, they're both negative, and I flipped the coordinate. Flip the coordinate, switch the sign. B prime was 7, 5. I'm going to flip the coordinate, switch the sign. So -5, -7. C was 4, 7. I'm going to flip the coordinate, switch the sign. And then when we get into this tomorrow, when we practice this, if it was negative, it would turn positive. If it's positive, it turns negative. So that's why we flip it and we switch the sign. So instead of making it saying we make it negative, because people are like, it's already negative, so it stays negative. two negatives would actually make positive. So it switches the sign. So I'll plot the points and then we'll be done. So -3, -2 is A prime. B prime is -5, -7. B prime is -7, -4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the top two and the bottom two are very easy. These ones are also not that bad. They're just a little bit harder. Okay. On the back of this, there is two problems that you need to do. The middle one you can skip. We're going to do that problem tomorrow. So do not scribble it out. We're going to do the middle one tomorrow together. But you're doing the top one and you're doing the bottom one for classwork / homework. I'll check it tomorrow to make sure it's complete. If you have time, so you can realistically do the top one and the bottom one right now. So my goal is I try not to give you homework because a lot of you don't do it anyway, you know, so I try to give you time to do it in class. So you're just doing the top, the bottom, save the middle one for us tomorrow. Okay.